Hello. Since we have attendees from all over the world, I'd like to wish you good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thank you for joining today's webinar. I'm Lori Bush-Shepard, Vice President of Marketing at Mobify, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our discussion, Beyond Responsive, Driving Mobile Commerce Success with Progressive Web Apps. Our panelists today are Patrick Munden, Global Head of Marketing and Retail for Salmon, Christian Schönauer, Senior Director of Solution Management at SAP Hybris Commerce, and my colleague Drew Lau, Director of Product Marketing at Mobify. And I will be your host. So, some housekeeping details before we get started. This webinar is being recorded and you'll get a link via email to the on-demand playback. And we really do encourage you to share it with your colleagues. So be watching for that email. Also, we'll follow the presentation with a Q&A period. There are a couple of options for you to submit your questions. You can either put it into the questions section of the webinar console or direct chat with the presenters. You can also submit questions on Twitter using the hashtag PWACommerce. And please do keep up with the Twitter chat if you'd like. So now some background on our topic. And mobile is more important than ever, and during the upcoming peak trading season, during the peak trading season last year, mobile traffic exceeded desktop for the first time. This year, mobile revenue will overtake desktop. But the question is, are you poised to win that conversion battle? In today's session, our panelists will give us a view of peak trading, how November is the new Noel, how SAP Hybris Commerce prepares customers for peak trading, and then how to eliminate mobile conversion barriers for peak trading. So to get us started, I'd like to hand it over with pleasure to Patrick Munden of Salmon, who'll give us an understanding of the changing state of mobile.
Thank you, Laurie. Hello, everybody. I'm Patrick. I head up marketing and retail at Salmon. Just so you know, we're a global commerce provider, and we look after some of the biggest names in retail, the likes of Sainsbury's, Selfridges, and in B2B, we work with Xerox and Premier Farnell. So just to run through the next stage. Now, I just want to talk about the importance of mobile, especially during the upcoming busy peak trading season. At Salmon, we run the UK's largest peak trading operations room, and that's manned on a 24-hour basis for clients such as Argos, Halford, Selfridges, and Ted Baker. And in our peak trading room, the job of the team is to ensure, I suppose, the smooth online operations of some of the busiest periods, especially over the Black Friday period and the Christmas peak trading. So let me take a little bit about what happened in 2016 and how mobile became so important and prevalent. In 2016 or 15, we correctly predicted Britain's first 1 billion online day, which was Black Friday 2015. And 2016, we saw that it was going to kind of spread over more than just one day into 5 days. So we kind of called it Black 5 Day. And indeed, we actually hit 5 billion in the UK during that period. So what's quite interesting, kind of what made that actually happen? I think the big thing was it was very much led by Amazon. That started a deals week before. And several retailers we noticed started really kind of making sure their marketing kicked in once Amazon kicked in, and was around the weekend before Black Friday when a lot of major promotions started happening. Now, the insight from our operations team is we looked at orders, and if you look at this chart here, you can see the orders for the clients that we supported over that 5-day period. And as you can see, the vast majority were on Friday, but it was spread out over those 5 days. And if we were able to show a chart before that, you could see that it actually did start quite early. So our prediction this year, it's definitely going to start earlier than the Thursday or even the week before, where we're saying it's going to be a whole month. So on the actual day of Black Friday, we saw a real tipping point, certainly in the UK, where according to our data and supported by IMRG, which is the industry body here, we saw mobile purchases overtake desktop for the first time ever. So that was very, very interesting, and it's very prevalent for this particular webinar. We did some analysis of the Black Friday period versus what was traditionally the kind of the peak trading period over Christmas. And we looked at a like-for-like comparison of the week around Black Friday also and the week around Christmas Day. And, you know, it's looking like November is indeed the new Noel, as we're calling it. Traffic around the Black Friday period was actually 27% higher than the Christmas period. And that certainly reflected in orders as well. There was 28% more online orders taken during that period. As we see, 51% of orders over the Black Friday period went through mobile devices. What's quite interesting is that 81% of traffic over Christmas and on Christmas Day was using mobile devices. So people were off their laptops off their desktops at work and all using their smart devices. So I think it really shows the importance of a mobile strategy. These figures are backed up by the industry body IMRG, which released industry figures showing the majority of sales via mobile devices over Christmas, with a peak on the 24th and 25th of December, where it was over 60%, and smartphones alone accounting for 40% of online orders. So I think the story so far is that it's all about mobile. And what we're predicting this year for the whole month of November was we think it's going to go very early this year. It won't be the last week in November. We see that retailers are going to go earlier, and it's going to be a £20 billion month for the first time ever. There's never been a £20 billion online month, and we think this year is it. We've been correct with our predictions so far, so fingers crossed. It's going to be a bumper month for retailers, and we believe about 12 billion of that will be through mobile devices. So if you don't have a mobile strategy, you're potentially missing out on the vast majority of one of the busiest periods of the year. So I'll finish by just kind of saying some of the learning from our peak operations center. So what we've learned. So the first one is that in the industry, we're seeing a lot of retailers really re-examining their strategy of developing apps. Because if you actually develop your own app, you've got to put a huge amount of effort into marketing that app in advance, both to customers and to new customers. So you're not only trying to market it, but you then also have to compete for screen time with some of the big boys like Amazon and eBay, which are incredibly already on the system, on those apps preloaded, etc. So I think the key is to start really thinking about what we're calling, a progressive web app strategy at Salmon, and we're encouraging our retailers to look at that. The third point is you really should start thinking in advance how you'll test your systems, because we're only a few months away, and we believe that if you can start thinking in advance how you can test your systems and your user journeys across all devices, but especially mobile, and think about the end-to-end mobile customer journey, everything from search to what deals, how the content is going to appear, the checkout flow for mobile, how the actual payment's going to work, and notifications to the customer. The fourth point is, in the peak operations room at Salmon, we build huge data dashboards, which we kind of identify and we show to our clients. And we look at that, and we look at things like number of requests per second, response times, and orders taken. So it's important that you split that information out and you actually have a look at it from a mobile point of view. And finally, our view is to check out for surges in mobile traffic and why it's happening on the day and during that period in November, and have your team ready to investigate that, have your third parties ready, whether it's your payment providers or your content providers, have them all ready on the day, but make sure you have a mobile strategy. And I think the best thing to do is be thinking about a progressive web app strategy. And what I'll do is I'll leave it over to the team now at Mobify, but also want to hear first from one of our partners, which is SAP Hybris. So over to you.
Thank you, Patrick, for the impressive numbers that you showed. My name is Christian Schönauer. Thanks for joining in. I'm with SAP Hybris for quite some years. I'm working in the solution management team there for SAP Hybris Commerce. And as maybe some of you know, or hopefully all of you know, SAP Hybris is a leading provider of customer engagement and commerce solutions with a global scale, global business that we're in. I would like to show you a bit on how we tackle things around mobile, but in our case, we always think omni-channel, so multiple channels that we're in. see if I can take over here. Yeah. First of all, very important thing is, and always the baseline of our thinking and our development of our solutions, is that customers control their journey. And that changed significantly over the last years. And you've seen the numbers from Patrick, that mobile gains momentum. But nevertheless, there are other channels as well. And each and every customer buys differently based on different products or services that they buy. The channel that they're currently working or using, the mood, the weather, multiple other facets and factors that might influence a buying decision. They also use for different purchases and different times of day, different channels, different ways of gathering information before they buy, like reading reviews, asking friends, using social media, going to the shop and touching the product, trying it out, before they then buy online, mobile, or in the shop, depending on where they are in their buying decision. And that makes it very, very complex for retailers and merchants to do business, to interact with these consumers, because also consumers expect that you know what they've done before they started interacting with you via the mobile or via the desktop or in the store or calling your service agent. And that's what we see, that the majority of businesses cannot support an omni-channel journey still. And that's the big reason for that is that over time, over the last decade roughly, there were lots of silos built up for the different channels to market. Customer service solutions being implemented to serve customer service agents, which then serve your customers or clients. E-commerce solutions being built up for e-commerce, the online channel only. POS solutions for POS, mobile apps or so for the mobile devices. And all these silos serve the customers with the respective or important information for that specific channel. But the important thing that you have one consistent base of information and then played it out throughout the channels, that is the thing that we believe in, and that's how we build our solutions to serve these omni-channel journeys. So our take on mobile is it's very important. It becomes even more important over time. You've seen the numbers from Patrick. It also depends on the business you're in, how important it is, and which kind of technology you use to address this channel. If you're a retailer in B2C or B2B, if you're a consumer products company, if you're a discrete manufacturer, travel agency, whatever, you always have to think, what is the omni-channel journey that you can support your customer in, and how important is mobile in that journey? So our vision for developing our products is enabling our customers, so you, the merchants, the retailers, the consumer products companies, to deliver contextual, consistent, relevant experiences independent of the channel or device that your customer is using throughout the customer journey. And we've built a comprehensive portfolio of solutions, an end-to-end solution portfolio around this for the front office applications, which are kind of spearheaded by an experience management solution. And then we have a line of business approach for commerce, which we'll focus on in a second, or even today, it's focused on commerce. We have an SAP Hybris marketing solution for doing segmentation, for creating target groups and then driving campaigns. We have a service solution, which is there for customer service, but also scheduling field service technicians, for example. Salesforce automation, and also a revenue cloud solution with billing components in there, order management components, and so forth. And we're building this based on a common data management layer where it makes sense to play out information throughout these channels. They're all nicely integrated. We started to integrate based on the most prominent use cases some years ago. So to be able to, for example, use target groups for marketing to play out in commerce and do personalized experiences there, for example. Or, open a service ticket in commerce and show it a service agent when they take the call from the customer or answer this ticket. It could then play it back to commerce. So these kinds of things in order to enable a smooth journey and then a consistent journey, customer journey that the customer is in. We also integrate, obviously, with the SAP ERP solutions in the backend, be it S4HANA or SAP ERP. That is also surely taken care of. At SAP Hybris Commerce, we're a platform solution, and that's also a big advantage of SAP Hybris Commerce, why customers choose to implement this omnichannel commerce solution. It's as I said, it's a platform with some core components, and the core components are, for example, the product content management component that you see on the top left here. which is a product catalog, which is the central golden record or holds the golden record of a product that can then be distributed throughout the channels, be it a kind of e-commerce shop in the web, or be it a mobile solution, which, for example, Mobify delivers, or be it a POS. They all call the product content from this product content management solution, from the golden product record. We also have a second very important piece is the customer experience component, which is a web content management solution to develop personalized experiences for example, online channels. I'll show you some screenshots on that as well in a second. And then last not least, order management and all the commerce components like cart checkout and so promotions, also order management are other components that we're delivering out of the box here, which will then be enable you to do cross channel processes, like for example buying online and picking up in store, or buying online returning in store, or things like that. We cannot invent everything, and that's why we are very proud of having an Hybris Extend partners. We have a very strong network of partners, like system integrators, like consultancies like Salmon, Mobify being our SAP Partner Edge partner for mobile, who then extend our platform with specific services or solutions that are very explicit in specific areas. On the front-end side, our customer experience management solution is a what you see is what you get editor for creating personalized experiences. Personalized not only based on target groups, but also individuals, anonymous or known users. And we work with so-called accelerator concepts that we ship partly out of the box, partly with industry-specific add-ons. So we always ship B2C and B2B accelerators, which show a predefined storefront with a specific layout that you customers could use to then work from there to build your own brand experiences above it, and to load your own products and apply your own style there. And that is also the accelerator framework, the B2C accelerator framework that Mobify used for their integration into commerce. We tackle from a Hybris commerce side the mobile with mostly responsive screens. For many customers of ours, responsive is still the way to go. So we render the screen smaller in a specific way so that they are easy to consume from a tablet or mobile device. But there are customers and industries where the mobile device the mobile channel becomes so important that you might want to have a mobile-first strategy, a mobile-first experience, where Mobify comes into the game, and they build these with their progressive web application that Drew will show you in a second. Regarding our solutions and peak trading, that is one topic that is the main topic of today, besides mobile. We tackle that so you can buy our solution either in on-premise or in a cloud-based provisioning model or deployment model. On the cloud side, we offer these kind of search event services where we work very closely with our customers to see where your search event or your peaks are in the business, be it Black Friday or Christmas or Valentine's Day or a new product introduction that requires where you expect more traffic on your sites on every channel. And we will then make sure that based on our search event services, you will have enough capacity and infrastructure so that you can respond in time to your customers and keep the business flowing. And with this, I'll head over to Drew to show you some bits and pieces of the progressive web application and the platform that Mobify developed.
Great, thank you very much. So as a follow-up to what will be a historic peak trading period and just seeing where mobile fits within the overall omni-channel experience, we're going to talk about the barriers to mobile conversion. Specifically, for mobile this peak trading season, we do see that mobile is still converting lower than desktop. Mobile typically being at 1.5% versus a much higher desktop conversion. And given that mobile traffic and mobile purchases are higher than desktop this year, we want to focus on some of the crucial user experiences differences and also look at what we can do to accommodate for them. So given on mobile, we will see a drastic difference in screen size, usage patterns, in this case, on a mobile device, usually on the go in a public setting versus on desktop, you're at the office or at home in a private setting and less prone to interrupts. We also see a drastic difference in performance. where mobile devices are going to be on slower networks, slower internets, and also have a much slower computing power. And finally, user input challenges, unlike a desktop where you have a full keyboard, inputting data on a mobile device is much more painful. So our best bet is to look at these challenges and definitely create experiences that are optimized for each as it's reality of the traffic coming in. So the key thing to note here is out of those 4 challenges there, performance definitely is king. Our studies have shown based on the overall data we collect that a 1-second delay in perceived performance will result in a 7% drop in conversion rate. And over a peak trading season, that is significant. So what we're trying to look at here is how do we improve overall performance, and especially perceived performance, because for the end user, the end shopper, we do see that experiencing mobile delays is one of the highest levels of cognitive load associated with stress. It's just slightly less stressful than solving a difficult math problem, but much more stressful than watching a horror movie, and most surprisingly, more stressful than waiting in line at a retail store environment. So we've been trained to this extent because of the way we use our apps on our phones, in which case, users just hate typing on their phones, having to remember all your details, put them in again, just go through an entire checkout flow over a specific time period, and what we call time to task completion is just absolutely painful, and we want to minimize the time it takes for completing any task overall. So how do we eliminate some of these barriers, especially for peak trading? We are promoting and working on a lot of technologies that are collectively called progressive web apps. I believe Patrick mentioned this up front. We are looking at user experiences that have a lot of native app similarities, but are actually built using web technologies and therefore have the reach of the web. They're accessible to all users, all mobile users on the web itself, and don't have a lot of negatives that we have talked about previously. So we're looking at the reliable, fast, engaging, and mobile-first application experiences delivered over the web, and we'll be looking at what that really means in just a second. So all of this hinges on what we call progressive enhancement. Progressive enhancement is the overall philosophy that we try to create an optimized experience for every single individual user. So for example, the baseline experience we want to give all users is really great speed, really great perceived performance, usually built on seamless transitions and using an overall app-like experience that is very similar again to what users are used to based on using native apps like Facebook and so on, where they enjoy this baseline overall experience on their mobile device. Based on your context, we will want to add in a bunch of enhancements, such as the ability to launch from your own home screen in full screen mode, or the ability to receive push notifications over the web. Further to that context, if you have, for example, payment details stored with various providers or within your browser via Apple Pay or the payment request API, for example, you'll get to use like kind of one-step payment methods. You will be able to take advantage of things like offline mode if your network is unavailable as you're underground and so on. And finally, if you're coming in from a search context such as Google search, you may land on what we call a Accelerator mobile page, which will give you a much faster load time to get you the information you need faster. And again, these are all based on context. If you're given permission, if you are on the right device, the right operating system, you will get the experience that's much more tailored to yourself as an individual user. So an example of this one, again, performance being king here, we're focusing really on what we call time to task completion. So a bit of a comparison. On the left is the original site that was built just using kind of more traditional web technologies. And on the right is a progressive web app version, where the only difference here is we have just changed up the home screen logo, but otherwise it's the same exact flow. So as we take a look at the left side, we will see that completing a task and the time it takes to complete a task will take a little bit longer because we're looking for, in this case, a specific product, and each click, each interaction with the site causes an overall page refresh, and overall will take a little bit longer to get to the information you need, which again is much of a barrier to your overall experience. On the right-hand side, if you just get into the right-hand side here as comparison, we'll see that for this exact same experience, but over a progressive web app, we will get a much more seamless transition point. We will be getting information much faster. And we are seeing that completing a task such as finding the right product in this case is over 2 times faster. So that is pretty quick, and that is just, you know, the basis of the performance there. So we drill in just one level deeper. What is this app-like experience that we're trying to encourage, just as a way to get in front of conversion rates and overall uplift for this peak trading period? The app-like experience we're trying to encourage is based on transitions and seamless transitions. And again, this is a very subtle thing you will notice as part of using native apps. Now we're able to do this with web experiences, essentially. So first thing is when you click from a product listing page to a product detail page, you will see that we are reusing a lot of the original content. In this case, the header is what we call an app shell. That is always present. That doesn't go away. You don't have to reload that, pull that down, the data, the images down again. It's always there for you. Second thing is we will reuse a lot of the product images up front. We already loaded that, plus the title and the review, the rating data. So that information is already ready available. There's no need to reload that. We present that right away. But you will notice that some data is not available. In this case, we put a nice little placeholder. With the placeholder, in fact, we can then load the rest of the data in the background, and then we present them. In this case, we have the full breadcrumbs. We have a richer image with a badge, with now 6 other variations of image to explore further. And that progressively enhancing experience based on focusing on performance and seamless transitions. So just to replay that one last time, keeping all those transitions in mind of what a progressive web app experience should look like, you'll notice that this is much more app-like. This feels much more like an experience that you enjoy on your mobile device. So overall impact for this head-to-head example, when we compared more of a traditional website to a new progressive web app, looking at this one, we had a 23% increase in revenue per visit, 14% in conversion rate, which generally is expected. We have a much lower time to task completion, much lower perceived performance. But the other two, 9% increase in average order value and 13% increase in item per order, for us was a bit surprising. Now we're just seeing larger baskets of items being completed and checked out, which is great. That's a nice bonus on top of just the standard conversion rate bump that we expected. So let's not talk really about native app versus web app. A progressive web app is both. And with that, we just want to also show off that you can do triggered push notifications, scheduled push notifications, still engage your users just like you would for any other experience on your mobile device. You can install the home screen. You can still have offline mode. And these are all the other enhancements we want to add to your overall baseline web experience. And finally, the last thing that we're pushing now is combining progressive web apps with something called Accelerator Mobile Pages, AMP. This is the ability to load initial landing pages, campaign pages, really quickly while you're still literally tapping the actual device you're trying to view the product on. So in the example on the right, you're seeing an example of what an AMP page looks like. They traditionally load 3 to 5 times faster than a traditional progressive web app site. Usually sub 1 second load times, which is great. Over a 3G network for your average device, a 1 second load time is fantastic. The average site out there is 19 seconds over the same type of load experience. So the fact that you could load pages 2 times faster, or category pages 5 times faster compared to a pure progressive web app, never mind an overall older website experience, that's really just the great performance that we're trying to look for as part of the peak trading period. So, and to summarize all that, we want mobile experiences that are simple, immediate, and contextual. For a progressive web app, that means fast speeds, app-like experiences, and timely, relevant engagement. One final summary, one of our flagship examples, this one is Lancome. They recently won a 2017 Internet Retailer Excellence Award for mobile commerce. This is for greatest creativity, performance, and sales growth for overall websites. Mobile website. So some of the results we've seen in that one is really a 17% increase in conversions, 4 times faster landing pages due to AMP, and with web push, a close to 10% click-through rate on standard web push and an 18% click-through rate on automated cart abandonment push notifications. Overall, we're seeing a 14% decrease in bounce rate due to the combination of performance and just generally a much better experience when you land on the page itself. And finally, just don't take our word or Salmon or Hybris' word for this. We are seeing progressive web apps start to appear in a lot of the industry publications. Both main analysts, Forrester and Gartner, have nice juicy quotes there around progressive web apps. Future mobile web lies in emerging technology called progressive web apps, says Forrester. And on the right there, it's only a matter of time before PW becomes the new standard for web interactions from our friends at Gartner. So the momentum behind PWAs are taking off, and we definitely expect to see a lot of these sites launch before the peak trading period. So with that, I'm going to hand that back to Lori and the team for a round of questions.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your presentations, gentlemen. And we do have several questions coming in. Feel free to add yours either to the questions portion of the webinar console, or you can direct message them or send them in via the hashtag on Twitter, PWA Commerce. So the first one, we'll get started. There's one for Patrick. You mentioned systems testing. Do you have any recommendations for testing best practices?
Yeah, thanks, Larry. Well, I think it's what's quite interesting is just listening to what Drew was talking about in terms of what progressive web app actually does. It increases your conversion per visit, increases your the amount of orders coming in through the basket. So yeah, in our operations room, we look at kind of 3 key metrics, and I think the key is to kind of think about how you can look at those from a mobile point of view. So that's kind of the number of requests coming in per second. So that's looking at the actual traffic coming through, the response times of the site. So we need to think about what is the actual response time from a mobile perspective versus a desktop, and if there's any major difference on that. And then most importantly, what's the conversion like? Are we actually converting those response times into actually orders taken? So the key in terms of looking at how you're actually going to build out your planning for peak trading is to make sure you have the data that looks at that, and make sure you have the data that can split that from a mobile and a desktop point of view.
Great, thank you. Here's one for Drew. We just did a responsive site. What do I do now?
That's a great question. Our responsive is great. It's a great starting experience. From similar to what Patrick mentioned, I think it's good to look at the underlying data of how your new responsive site is performing. Is it performing good on certain devices, certain operating systems, certain browsers, or certain aspects of the customer flow, the shopper flow underperforming, and are those ones a target for trying to revamp or try to optimize the experience for individual combinations of users? I think a lot of this has to be data driven to know what to prioritize, and whether looking at a progressive app to be based on top of a responsibly designed site is kind of the next step versus some of the other items that may result of a brand new responsive site rollout.
Excellent, thank you. There's another direct question. I think this one's for Patrick. Do you have any recommendations for what data to measure in a mobile dashboard when peak trading starts?
Yeah, certainly. I mentioned a few there in terms of response per second, response times, but it's quite interesting to, on the actual day or even the week and the month of November, when we're talking about being the busiest month of the year, is to start really looking at data like network connections. So up to now with desktop, what's happened is that people are able, the desktop connections are incredibly fast. As we move now to a tipping point where everything is moving to mobile, not every network connection on mobile is going to be as fast. So it's important to have a look at your actual connection time. In terms of actually looking at your dashboard, you might find that the mobile connections are quite slow because it mightn't be 3 or 4G. So just watch out for that. The second thing is your actual marketing team might be actually putting up a piece of content during that period on the fly. So they might be saying, okay, we're going to react to a competitor pricing, etc., or a piece of content. So you've got to really think about how that actually works from a desktop. It might actually, when they're loading that information, it might work perfectly for desktop on the fly, but you've got to be thinking if the majority of people are coming in via mobile devices, how is that really going to impact your kind of the user experience, that they actually see the information and the information is rendering properly on the mobile. So think about those kind of things that usually you wouldn't be thinking about in a desktop environment.
Great, thank you, Patrick. Here's one for Christian. Does Mobify integrate with SAP Hybris?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, so SAP Hybris offers several integration possibilities. One of which is what we call Omnichannel Connect, OCC, which is a set of APIs to add channels, as the name says, to our Hybris platform. And Mobify used that way to integrate. And I think I'll hand over to Drew to chime in a bit to tell us how they implemented that.
Yeah, so our integration is currently underway. We are using essentially a standardized API within our progressive web app framework that integrates against the Hybris OCC, the Omnichannel Connect API. That's our standard recommended integration, but we also have several customers who have integrated via using desktop parsers so that they can reuse their desktop content coming from the Hybris system and the content management system there into their mobile experience. So both offerings are valid, but we are recommending taking a bit of an API approach as part of our standard integration, which will be available shortly.
Another one for you, Drew. How long does it take to implement Mobify on SAP Hybris?
That's a great question. So a lot of our projects will be anywhere from 6 weeks all the way up to much longer, depending on the spectrum of kind of a general experience for all users to highly individualized for each user as part of progressive enhancement. That will take much longer. So there's really no one standard answer here other than like there's a minimum set. What we do expect though is with the new SAP Hybris integration that we're using against the OCC2 APIs, is that we'll be reducing that integration period, that project period, by several weeks just due to the out-of-the-box integration with the Hybris APIs themselves. So you'd expect that initial time period to decrease.
Thank you. Next question I've got is for Christian. The question is, I'm replatforming on SAP Hybris. When should I consider progressive web apps?
Yeah, so in general, you should consider all your channels that you want to do business with. So when you implement Hybris, or you're starting to implement Hybris, or in front of a project, then please think of which channels you want to connect, and mobile is a very important one in there. And then you can decide it's PWA, that's the latest technology that is available on the market, if that is an option for you, or if it's not. But normally you should definitely consider it right in the start, what kind of technologies you want to use for addressing your channels and implementing them with our system.
Okay, one for Drew. I've heard that progressive web apps are only for Android. Do they also work on iOS?
Yeah, that's also an interesting question there. For actually some of our customers, we have noticed that progressive web apps perform better on iOS, despite the fact that some of the capabilities aren't fully available yet on the Apple ecosystem. So again, with the whole concept of progressive enhancements, your experience will change a little bit based on which browser, which device you're on. But the standard set of technologies still apply to both ecosystems. It's just that on Android, you may have a couple extra things here and there, which will again just create a slightly better experience. But overall, we're seeing positive results from both sides of the app ecosystem there.
Great, thank you. And one last question that we have so far is for Drew again, I think. Is this a technology that Google provides?
Yeah, so a lot of the progressive web app and AMP technologies are worked on by folks from Google, especially from the Chrome team and then the general web development team. But these are based on open source technologies. So you will see a lot of contributions, a lot of thought leadership from a wide variety of companies, including Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google and others, and not just Google itself. So it's not a proprietary Google technology, which is one of the reasons why we've chosen to work closely with Google and other industry leaders on working with this set of progressive web app underlying technology there.
Okay, so thank you very much, Drew. And I think we've come to the end of our questions. I do want to say if you haven't gotten to your question, we'll be sure to get back to you shortly by email. And a reminder, this webinar has been recorded and will be available for on-demand playback. Be watching for information from Mobify, and we really hope that you found this session to be informative and helpful. Many thanks to our speakers today from Salmon, from SAP Hybris Commerce, and from Mobify, and especially thank you to all of our attendees for joining us.